The year is 2047. The hum of the global network was the planet's pulse, a rhythm of interconnected commerce, culture, and simmering tensions. For Dr. Lena Hansen, head of cyber forensics for the newly formed Atlantic Federation, AF, that hum was her daily symphony, and lately it had been playing a discordant, aggressive tune. It began subtly, as most calamities do. Sporadic, targeted disruptions in the resource-rich Arctic territories, where melting ice had unveiled both opportunity and a new arena for friction between the AF and the Pan-Asian Cooperative, PAC. Satellites experienced glitches, deep-sea data cables reported anomalies, and financial markets saw inexplicable, lightning-fast manipulations. Lena's team in Stockholm worked tirelessly, tracing digital ghosts through petabytes of data, their screens a mosaic of code and network maps. It's sophisticated, state-level, but the signature is deliberately muddled, Lena reported to the AF Security Council, her face stern on the holographic display. They're good, too good at hiding, or perhaps too good at making it look like someone else. The whispers of blame, however, needed little encouragement. Decades of economic rivalry, ideological divergence, and proxy conflicts had worn down diplomatic buffers. When a coordinated cyber attack crippled the primary power grid of a major AF European port city for 72 hours, plunging millions into darkness and chaos, the whispers became shouts. Deepfake videos, astonishingly realistic, flooded the infosphere, showing PAC leaders purportedly celebrating the attack. Retaliatory accusations, equally fabricated, depicted AF officials vowing disproportionate revenge. Captain Kai Zhang of the PAC Air-Sea Strategic Force watched these developments from his command post, a continent away. He was a master of drone swarm tactics, his mind a seamless interface with the AI that guided his legions of autonomous aerial and submersible units. He saw the escalating rhetoric, the troop movements mirrored on satellite feeds, and felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. His training was for conflict, but the sheer, almost automated rush towards it felt different, more terrifying than any war game. The tipping point came not with a bang, but with a calculated, chilling precision. A PAC research vessel in the contested waters of the South China Sea, allegedly on a scientific mission, was boarded by an AF Special Operations team, claiming intelligence of military-grade cyber weaponry on board. Shots were fired. Lives were lost. The PAC called it an act of war. The AF called it a necessary preemptive action. Within hours, Article 5 of the Atlantic Federation Charter was invoked, and the PAC responded with its own mutual defense pacts. World War III didn't erupt, it congealed, a slow, viscous flood of localized conflicts merging into a global torrent. Kai Zhang was deployed to the Pacific Theater. His first major engagement was against an AF carrier group. He wasn't in a cockpit, he was in a bunker, hundreds of miles from the action, yet his senses were overwhelmed. Through his neural link, he was the swarm. He saw through 1,000 optical sensors, felt the vibrations of 1,000 engines, processed the targeting data from 1,000 AI co-pilots. His drones, sleek and deadly, moved like a metallic shoal, overwhelming the carrier's defenses with sheer numbers and coordinated attacks. Ships burned, the sea boiled. But the victory felt hollow, a matter of algorithmic efficiency rather than human valor. He saw the enemy's counterswarms, equally sophisticated, equally detached. It was a war of machines, orchestrated by humans who were increasingly becoming secondary to the logic of the conflict they had unleashed. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Nigeria, Samuel Sam Okoro, an independent journalist, navigated the treacherous currents of the information war. Lagos, a hub within the struggling Global Neutrality Bloc, GNB, was deluged with refugees and crippled by the collapse of global supply chains. Sam wasn't on the front lines, but he was fighting his own battle against the fire hose of propaganda from both the AF and PAC. "They're selling us two sides of the same poisoned coin," he broadcast on his encrypted channel, TruthStream, which had gained a massive clandestine following. "They speak of liberation, of security, but their actions sow only chaos and death. Look around you. The food shortages, the medical supplies that never arrive, the families torn apart. This is the reality of their glorious war, a reality they try to bury under manufactured outrage." His reports, often filmed on disposable burner devices and smuggled out through precarious networks, showed the human cost: the overcrowded refugee camps, the silent, bewildered children, the once bustling markets now barren. He exposed how both sides were exploiting Africa's resources to fuel their war machines, offering predatory aid deals in exchange for strategic minerals or basing rights. Lena Hansen, back in Stockholm, felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. The initial cyber attacks, the ones she had warned, were muddled, now seemed like child's play compared to the ongoing digital onslaught. Critical infrastructure, hospitals, water treatment plants, financial systems became legitimate targets. AI-driven worms, designed to learn and adapt, burrowed deep into global networks, causing cascading failures. Space, too, became a battlefield. Kinetic bombardment weapons, once theoretical, were deployed against satellite constellations, creating Kessler syndrome-like debris fields that threatened all space-based assets, neutral or otherwise. GPS became unreliable, global communication patchy. The world was being systematically disconnected. The war entered its third year, stalemate on most conventional fronts. The attrition was horrific. The initial fervor had long since evaporated, replaced by a grim, soul-crushing endurance. Kai Zhang found himself increasingly questioning the AI's tactical decisions. An incident where a friendly fire algorithm, misinterpreting sensor data corrupted by an AF electronic warfare pulse, decimated a PAC supply convoy, haunted him. The AI registered it as an acceptable loss within mission parameters. Kai registered it as a massacre of his own people. He started manually overriding AI suggestions, taking risks, relying on human intuition, much to the chagrin of his superiors who trusted the infallible logic of the machines. Then came the Black Sky event. Desperate to break the deadlock in the Indian Ocean theater, where a vital PAC supply route was being choked off by the AF, the PAC High Command authorized a coordinated strike. It wasn't a nuclear weapon, not in the traditional sense. A barrage of hypersonic missiles, tipped with advanced EMP warheads, was launched at a key AF naval base and its supporting industrial complex in northern Australia. The missiles struck with devastating accuracy, but the high-altitude electromagnetic pulses were far wider and more potent than anticipated. The immediate effect was the obliteration of the AF's regional command and control, but the secondary effects were catastrophic. Power grids across a 1,000-kilometer radius collapsed, hospitals went dark, life support systems failed. Civil aviation in the area literally fell from the sky. Millions of civilians were plunged into an instant, pre-industrial nightmare. The environmental impact from crippled industrial sites, including chemical plants, began to unfold slowly but terribly. The Black Sky event didn't win the war for the PAC. Instead, it horrified the world, including many within the PAC itself. The global neutrality bloc, led by a newly assertive India and Brazil, condemned it unequivocally, threatening total economic disengagement from both warring parties. Even within the AF, the desire for an equivalent or greater retaliation was tempered by the stark vision of what such escalation truly meant. The word apocalypse was no longer hyperbole, it was a tangible possibility hovering just beyond the next miscalculation. Lena Hansen, watching the data streams of the Black Sky event's aftermath, felt something break within her. The initial cyber attacks, the propaganda, the endless cycle of violence, it all traced back to a failure of understanding, a deliberate stoking of fear. Working through encrypted back channels she had cultivated over years, she compiled a dossier. It contained her analysis of the initial provocations, demonstrating how third-party actors and internal hardliners within both blocs had manipulated events. It contained evidence of deliberate misinformation campaigns designed to derail peace efforts. It was a truth bomb, and she knew deploying it could be a death sentence. She leaked it, not to a government, but to Sam Okoro's truth stream. The impact was seismic. Sam, risking everything, verified and disseminated the information. His audience, already primed for disillusionment, devoured it. The leaked data, dubbed the Hansen dossier, spread like wildfire through the fractured remnants of the global internet and through clandestine networks. It didn't stop the war overnight, but it ignited a firestorm of dissent within both the AF and PAC. Soldiers questioned their orders. Citizens, armed with verifiable information, staged massive protests, no longer buying the official narratives. Kai Zhang saw the Hansen dossier. It confirmed his gnawing doubts. He wasn't a politician, but he was a soldier who had sworn to protect his people, not to lead them into an abyss based on lies. In a move of unprecedented insubordination, he and several other high-ranking PAC officers broadcast an open appeal for an immediate ceasefire and transparent investigation based on the dossier's findings. Similar movements began to stir within the AF military, where disillusionment was equally rife. The war machine, so vast and complex, couldn't stop on a dime, but it began to shudder. The global pressure, fueled by Sam's relentless journalism and the courage of whistleblowers like Lena, became unbearable. The economies of both blocs were in ruins, their populations exhausted and mutinous. The specter of further black sky events, or worse, hung over every decision. Negotiations began, not in grand halls, but in quiet, neutral locations mediated by the GNB. They were fraught, bitter, and punctuated by continued skirmishes. There were no victory parades, no triumphant declarations. The Third World War didn't so much end as peter out, leaving behind a scarred, impoverished, and deeply distrustful planet. The cost was staggering, estimated 70 million dead, entire regions rendered uninhabitable, ecosystems shattered, and the global technological infrastructure fundamentally compromised. The old world order was gone. In its place, a fragile, multipolar system was emerging, born from the ashes of unimaginable conflict. Lena Hansen, living under GNB protection, watched the dawn of this new era, knowing the fight for truth was far from over. Kai Zhang was involved in decommissioning autonomous weapon systems, a task he undertook with solemn dedication. Sam Okoro continued his broadcasts, a voice for the voiceless in a world desperately trying to learn from its most devastating mistake. The hum of the global network was slowly, cautiously returning, but it was a different sound now, more subdued, more wary, forever marked by the silence of the lost and the echoes of a war that had almost consumed them all. If you enjoyed the story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.